up out of nowhere in the middle of the desert there near Iran. There they have built the largest building in the world, the Burj Tower. They have built the most leaning building in the world, and they are building extravagant mansions and palaces with crazy theme parks or resorts such as the Atlantis, which I am trying to win that competition to, because I want to go film this place. This is so important to understanding what's going on and why there is an Atlantis in Dubai. Now, that, of course, is built out on a man-made island that is the shape of the tree of life. So remember who we're dealing with, just over and over, why the space shuttles are known as the Columbia Endeavor for the discovery of Atlantis. When you start to look into Atlantis and Michael Tsarian's work and the genetic manipulation, the fact of Atlantis coming and dominating the culture of planet Earth, because my theories rest on that Atlantis started on the planet Mars. I'm finding others like Jay Widener and some others who are finding these same clues and understandings. So realize now who is in charge in their belief systems of ancient civilizations, their belief systems in channeling ancient gods, things of this nature. Now these guys are building the new world. So why are these mammoth cities, these massive cities such as Dubai and Canberra is the first. So in 1913 this was established as the very first pre-planned city. The next that I knew of was actually Epcot in Walt Disney World. And so many of the concepts that are being taken and designed in these type of military industrial complex cities are then being spread out to, say, if you have a look at Southeast Asia, Singapore, and how they have set up their system in this draconian technocracy that is just totally dominating the lives and aspects of everybody living there. Then you'll start to see, okay, so Canberra was the first, and it was this pre-planned city set out by the Griffins, and you will see that it is set up on an astrological line, set up in a geometric, geomantic, a magical perspective, and actually correlates with many of the ancient cities that were aligned to the star system and what is known now as the lost symbol of Ra. Canberra was then taken over in the 70s. It was made into the capital of Australia, and then Henry Kissinger became involved. Now, Kissinger is a major clue as well to this whole story, because he was the one working with Richard Nixon in America in the 70s to establish the UN regions of America. Now, I'm in region number 7 here in Kansas, and you can go look up what region you are. Now we start to see all of the different situations where people are putting up on Google Video where they're looking down on airstrips, on military airstrips, and there are just hundreds of UN vehicles in Florida and in California. The system is being set around us, and as I say, we pay the price by working our jobs. I mean, my motto is quit your job, save the world. And I'm glad you guys are doing what you're doing, because basically you're quitting your job and you're saving the world. I mean, we'll have to find new influences to give us credit, give us money, give us the spell that we need to destroy the spell of money. But until that point, I'm so glad you guys chose the route that you have.
Hey, you got to fight fire with fire. Definitely. Let me ask you this. What are they preparing for? I mean, are they preparing ultimately for the return of these beings?
That's what it seems. Honestly, as much as I try to stay on the ground, the evidence suggests that there is preparation for the return of these beings. And this would be either the gods of Planet X, the Elohim, the Nephilim, the Anunnaki, whichever term you want to use, which I find most of them are improper use. The only one that seems proper is Elohim, those that came down. Nephilim were the children of the Elohim. And Anunnaki is actually a misstated term that even Sitchin then later uses in an improper form. But if you read the original 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin, you will see that the Anunnaki were actually a race that the Elohim brought with them to mine the planet, who then revolted against the Elohim, resulting in the creation of what they call the Lulu, or the black-headed ones, mankind.
That would go along completely with what Jim Marrs said about about the whole issue of where we came from, and basically he said the same thing, but he said that the Anunnaki and the Elohim were the same.
Well, that's what has happened. Just as everyone calls the Brotherhood the Illuminati, it gets very confusing because we need terms. And the Masons are the masters of terms and terminology. That is why Noah Webster, a 33rd degree Freemason, is in charge of what concepts and what words we know. And as they eliminate words, they eliminate concepts, and they eliminate things that we can understand about the universe. They also incorporate concepts into the words. So if you were to take the word absolute, right, which means encompassing all, well, Ab is the father in Hebrew. Sol is the son, father's son. And Uta is the Jesus character in the Sumerian tales. So you have father, son, son. Same trilogy, same trinity in the word absolute. So now you've got the concept of the Sumerian gods as our word for the all. So realize that they have constructed our very language and used it to carry these forms.
Manipulating us, huh?
They have. Government comes from the Greek word gubernatio, right? And ment, which means the control of the mind.
Exactly.
And it's right there, just hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
Hey, I had a question about Akhenaten. I've been doing a little bit more research, and it looks a lot like Akhenaten and Moses were the same person.
Yes, I did a long show on that. There is a Dr. Arthur Earl Jones who did a major expose on the biblical patriarchs and how they actually are the pharaohs of Akhenaten's period. And you can follow this mostly through Joseph, but when you come back to Yuya and you come to this bloodline that led down to Queen T and Akhenaten, then you absolutely can, by shifting a few hundred years, put them right into line with the biblical patriarchs. And as we know, Moses was said to have been trained as a pharaoh, raised by a pharaoh, and trained in Egyptian magic.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
He was trained in the mystery schools.
Exactly. And so on this same sense, we find that Sigmund Freud also believed Akhenaten to be Moses, because here was the first monotheist. And as we take this whole story together and you realize that what we're dealing with Freemasonry and their control of our minds is Kabbalism. Just to make it clear, Albert Pike, the 33rd degree Freemason, Grand Sovereign Commander of Freemasonry of the Scottish Rite, wrote Morals and Dogma, which outlined the 32 degrees of Freemasonry. Within this book, he stated over 70 times that Freemasonry, the inner mysteries, are the Kabbalah.
And the Kabbalah was started by Moses and then brought, to a higher level by King Solomon?
According to 33rd degree Freemason and head of the Philosophical Research Society, Manly P. Hall, Moses learned the Kabbalah on his third trip up to the mountain. So as he went up and they were building the Ark of the Covenant, he went up and carved out the stones of the commandments. Now he had to go up twice because, of course, we know that he came down the first time. And this is a very interesting tale. He follows this column of fire or a column of smoke, depending on whether it is day or night, and he goes to the mountain and meets with the Lord of the mountain. Now, when you read Lord in the Bible, you have to start to realize that it means many different beings. It's not simply one character, as we have now assumed to be the case. There was Lord of the mountain, there was Adonai, there were other lords. And so he meets with this Lord of the mountain, and he draws the stones out because he had been instructed in the language of God through the Egyptian mysteries. So he could actually transcribe the words of God onto these stones. But then he returns down the mountain, and he finds everyone worshiping the golden calf, as we all know this tale. And then, as we see in some fictional tales, smashes these rocks onto the ground. Now, if you were to look at this another way, what actually may have occurred is as he comes down with these inscribed crystalline structures, many of the ancient tales, when you get back to the ancient Hebrew tales, tell of these stones actually being crystal form and actually kind of gelatinous crystal form. So are we talking about silicon? I don't know. He comes down the mountain with this, and it doesn't work. Nothing happens. He smashes them. Then he melts down that golden calf, but that golden calf turns to white